like in that picture with the tiger. Is that an old picture?
I don't know if that was an old picture or not.
He's wearing it.
Yeah.
Must be cool.
Try and touch base with him this weekend.
Okay, sir, we're all set to go.
Okay. This tiger will never stop.
No.
He'll never give up.
He will. Guys, thanks so much.
We call to order a meeting of the Summers Board of Selectmen, regular meeting. Date is November 2nd, 2023. Please join me with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have with us tonight Selectman Bill Meyer on my right, Selectman Bob Schmidt on my left, Chief John Roach, Fire Chief, Director Kim Liddick, the Ops Director, CFO, Kim LaFleur, sorry about that.
Okay, don't worry about it. I don't think it's that.
Couple on my screen all the time.
Too many caps.
Put KL and Liddick comes
Yeah.
up. Stuff with that.
Oh, well.
CFO Brian Wissinger and Assistant Treasurer Mike Marinaccio. We're going to be later joined by Brad Pellisier, who is the Chairman of the Planning Commission, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, public comment. We have no public here this evening, even though they're invited. Presentation is the first selectman. I've got a couple things I wanted to mention. Of course, next week we have on Tuesday, the 7th of November, we have local elections, which includes all local officials and 2 bond issues, one for the HVAC system for the elementary school, and one for the seniors/community center. We also have, I want to mention Kathy Lampkin, the HR consultant we've been using, has set up 3 interviews for next Tuesday.
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday, okay,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Tuesday, I'm in trouble.
Oh, okay, that's why it's not Tuesday. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday, we'll be interviewing 3 individuals for the part-time, 15 to 20-hour HR person. Let's see, also, earlier this week on Monday, town officials had a meeting with the representatives from the Bordeaux farm, the apple farm on Route 83. And a very successful meeting. Nancy Edgar is the person representing the Bordeaux family. It's Cliff Bordeaux's sister. And again, we're getting to learn a lot more about solar arrays on agricultural land. And that's the whole object of what we're trying to accomplish here. And they have a pending a petition before the Connecticut Siting Council and a hearing, I believe, scheduled for the 9th of November. Sometime after which, I think later in December or early January, we'll have a public meeting. Hopefully in this room, as well as can be tuned in from home via Zoom if people are interested. I also just want to mention we had a meeting with Senator Kissel on Tuesday this week where we just discussed state assistance were available for priorities that the town has. That's all I have. Consent agenda, I believe we have nothing there. Opportunity to add urgent agenda items. Okay, we have none of those. Finance Department transfers and appropriations, we have none.
None.
CFO's finance report and updates.
You just took them both.
Oh, sorry about that.
Talk about the solar as well, so,
Yeah, well, the good news is, again, we are getting much better schooled in solar and agricultural farms. I think we found with the project we have on Bilton Road, it was actually built before we even knew about it.
Yep.
As far as the town was officially notified. And in this case, we've had some good progress in the last few weeks meeting with the towns of East Windsor and Ellington, as well as concerning the solar farms they've been dealing with. as well as, the local initiative here in Summers, the Bordeaux Solar Farm.
Well, it's nice to get everybody to the table ahead of time too, so that we can all be good neighbors instead of, ending up in.
Exactly, we're trying to avoid litigation and
with
trying
each
to work
other,
things
so.
out in advance, exactly, that's the goal.
Brad's just running 10 minutes behind, he just emailed me.
Okay. We won't finish the meeting in 10 minutes.
I don't think so, I'm just wondering, I just figured I'd let you know because it's coming up.
Anything else, Brian?
I know, right?
Brian, do you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Let's see. Scheduled payments, we have, an array of such. We have a motion to accept them.
Yeah, I'd happy to make a motion, to authorize payments in the amount of $519,516.94.
Second that.
Any discussion on the motion? I've reviewed all the payments.
Some of these are capital items, Brian, I assume that's why the dollar amount's so high.
But I do appreciate
There
the
was,
new format you have, which is much more informative,
Yeah, there was quite a bit of,
work that goes along with it.
bonding from the schools, bond payments for them, that were in here.
I'm good.
Hearing no additional comments or discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And we were able to get that
Thank you.
description in on the credit card statement as well too, so, and it didn't make it too small.
Thank you. Excellent. Updates from, we'll get the planning commissioner, Mr. Chairman Brad Pelletier, as soon as he arrives. Pending business, we have none. New business, Fire Chief Roach.
Pretty straightforward, looking to hire a part-timer, James Campion, part-time firefighter EMT. We've got several vacancies. Some recent departures, so just looking to fill that spot. He's got extensive background. He's got over 25 years in the fire service. Most recently, he retired from the state of Connecticut. He was at the South Area Training School until they shut that down in July.
Oh, well,
Should be a welcome addition to the department.
yeah, sounds good.
Need a motion to hire Mr. Campion.
I'm happy to make a motion to, hire, Mr. James Campion for a part-time firefighter EMT for the fire department.
When would that start?
Right next Monday.
Okay.
Okay, starting next Monday, okay.
It's the beginning of your pay period, so that was
All right, very
I'll
good.
second that.
Any further discussion?
Right, so we have an appropriation for this, right?
Yeah, we have, monies in the fund for it.
Okay.
'Cause we've actually had, with Sarnick going from part-time to full-time, that opened up that
So,
spot.
yeah, John Sonic went from part-time to full-time, so it opened up his
And
spot.
now
Like,
we
Baller
are-
left,
Baller
Chris
left,
Coulier
Manzione left, and
Manzione
Ujar
left. So
left.
we've actually technically lost 4 part-timers.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Since we've last done any hiring.
So we're still looking for part-timers, correct?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? Yeah, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes
All right, thank you.
unanimously. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Proposed 2024 Board of Selectmen regular meeting schedule for approval.
So July 4th is a holiday, but I did put it on there. So I figured instead of doing a special meeting, we can come up with a date now and do a regular meeting versus
Good idea.
get a hold of
Okay.
everybody, so. That following week possibly.
Maybe the 3rd?
I was thinking,
What was the
I
3rd?
was thinking that's a Wednesday, but I
The
was
3rd is
thinking
the Wednesday.
following Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here
I
then.
can do the following Thursday.
Okay, that's all right.
Thursday's my birthday.
Happy
Oh,
birthday.
geez. I think the 3rd would be okay.
Okay, 6 o'clock, or do you want to do a different time?
6 o'clock's good for me.
The third?
Well, based on the being in a regular meeting, it would be 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Well, now we can, the schedule, we can make any.
right, so you
Well,
want
if you
to do
change that one, though,
that
yeah,
should become your regular meeting.
that becomes your regular meeting.
Do you want, right, do you want to do at 5 o'clock versus 6?
6 is fine.
Okay,
Yeah, you can't.
so the 3rd at 6 PM.
Right.
Okay, I changed
Normal
it.
time,
Yeah.
just different day,
Yeah.
third, okay.
Okay, that's cool.
Very good.
All right. And Bob, did you want to bring something up about, well, I guess you can vote on this first, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because this is for the next.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I want to make a motion to approve the, schedule for,
So I would, make a motion that we approve the amended, 2024 regular meeting schedule.
Second?
for Board of Selectmen.
For the Board of Selectmen.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes, thank you. Next, we have the proposed holiday schedule for 2024 for town employees and
These are the items that
anyone
are in the,
associated with the town.
Those ones in the contract?
yes, in the employee handbook.
So these are jibe with the,
Employee.
state employees.
I took out Lincoln's birthday.
Do we call Washington's birthday President's Day?
Yeah, they do. I can change.
So we should just make it
Okay.
President's Day,
All right, we'll
instead
call
of
it President's
Washington's
Day.
birthday. Okay.
That's the state had
Good idea.
birthday, so.
And so, Juneteenth is now a state
Yep.
day,
Yes, it is.
not to be overly negative, but
I understand.
it's just, it's in the, nothing really, I know they made a big deal out of it, but there were still, all sorts of people were slaves, so I really don't quite understand why we celebrate it, because there were still thousands of people that were enslaved. Just doesn't make any sense to me, but that's okay.
Do we have that down as, one of our official holidays?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's why
It's
we're
in our
doing
employee
it.
handbook.
Yeah, it was in the handbook.
It's a federal holiday now.
It's a federal holiday now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
state, yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Any further discussion on the motion?
So we have, so a lot of these are either on the actual holiday or then the observed day. I'm just looking at the list.
Yeah,
So it looks
this is
like
all,
some of these are.
Friday would be a floater for town hall, and that's only 2 floaters, so.
Yeah, these are all on the day of, I believe.
Yeah, they're all in the
So
day
like,
of.
so I mean, now that we have the modified hours, I mean, we still observe the day after Thanksgiving, but, I mean, how many floaters then? So I mean, they end up
That
getting
affects DPWs too, so.
Yeah,
3 floaters then. 'Cause
Only
you get,
two.
don't you get 1 floating in general?
No.
No, not anymore,
No.
because we got rid of Lincoln's and switched it to Juneteenth.
Right.
Okay. We took that out of the hand.
And the day after Thanksgiving is a
So
float.
this mimics the, employee handbook.
My argument is there are
Everybody
always too
else
many
in town works
there are always
five.
too many holidays, but, I have no control over that.
All right. I think this is fine. If we amend it to President's Day to be
Sure.
consistent with the handbook, I think
Yeah.
we're fine.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to accept the 2024 holiday schedule as amended.
Second?
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Chairman Pelletier, you're on deck.
Brad, how you doing?
Great. We've asked, heads of boards and commissions to come by and just update us on what's going on. What are some of your current issues? What are your plans for the next year? What your wishes were if you had them.
That could get
Go
late.
ahead.
See,
You've been chairman for how long?
This time, about 2 years, prior to that, I had 20 years in the commission.
Yeah, well, like that.
So,
That explains the gray hair.
that
Yeah.
explains some
Oh,
of the great years.
excellent.
So, current projects we have going on, we're looking at updating the plan of conservation and development. We are engaged in reviewing our affordable housing program, and we are playing an active role with the sidewalk commission expansion.
Yeah.
Both of the affordable housing and sidewalks fit in with the current plan of conservation and development that was laid out. Both of them have been long-time goals in our plan in terms of developing the community here.
Okay, I'd like to just talk about a few of these if I could. The plan of conservation and development is certainly something I've been interested in for some time. And I know that the date of the actual update is the 2025, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but we can do it anytime we want prior to that.
Right, any update we do to the plan restarts the clock on the plan, so
Right.
if we were to modify one section, that makes the entire plan run out for the entire period of the plan would be good for, so.
Okay.
A goal we had, about 2 planning conservation and developments ago, was to study an update schedule for each of the sections of the plan, so that we're looking at one section of it annually rather than trying to, tame a huge beast. I'm very much interested in, part of this, go at the planning conservation and development is really kind of revitalizing that kind of thinking. Spend a great deal of time on one section each year rather than trying to figure out how we're going to expand as an entire community.
There are a couple of, since the last plan, conservation development was put together, there's been a couple new issues that have come up. I'm just wondering if we can maybe focus on those as part of the review as well. One of them, of course, is climate change, which has a significant impact on the environment as well as the community. Another one is sustainability, which is a form of subset, I guess, of the climate change, but something else as well. And the third thing is the solar arrays on agricultural lands, which is something that the town has been interested in the last few months, for actually longer than that, but something that I think needs specific attention and understanding, and maybe some changes to our general
I think as we look at
code as well.
environmental factors in the plan of conservation and development, I think, energy uses, environmental concerns, climate change, are important factors. How they play in specifically to the plan of conservation and development, I think would take some time and thought, but certainly these are issues that we need to be looking for in the future.
Right. I was thinking that it might be helpful if possibly we, the town and your board, could sponsor a workshop some Saturday where we could bring in, nationally known experts, pay them, say, $500 a head or whatever, if we needed to, and have a discussion and a presentation and a discussion with regards to, what other towns and communities are doing and what are some of the things that ought to be considered in the update.
Sure, I think if we're looking at an area of the plan that would affect those issues, I think that would be a great component to getting community input for the plan.
So you're planning on coming up with a schedule? Is that what you're going to do?
I think that would be the best approach at this point, yes. We were focusing on doing the first year on our housing and stock issues, simply because that just fits in with the idea that we have to get our affordable housing plan in place, and that just dovetails into it so nicely that seemed like a good place to start for this year.
So that's all you're going to handle this year, as far as the breadth of the issues?
I'm not really sure I have like a rigid calendar year schedule for this. I think that was the first one we were planning on tackling.
Yep.
I kind of see this as an ongoing thing with maybe a little break in between. We finish one. As a commission, we might take a month or two to kind of take a deep breath and move on to the next one. Just so that we keep the momentum going. I think if we say, we're going to do this and then we're not going to do it, if we do something, we finish it up in 3 months and then we go 9 months without doing something, we kind of lose the momentum that's on our radar. And as a small commission with limited resources, it's kind of easy for things like that to slip by. I think that's what happened in the last one. So I'm thinking, when I say, we do a section of a year, if there's smaller sections, we might do 2 in 1 year. One might take longer than a year if it's something that needs a lot of public input and has had a lot of changes in it. But this is just, I'd like to see this as an ongoing, I think, rather than say annually doing one, I'd like to see this as an ongoing process where we're always looking forward as opposed to we're going to stop and take a snapshot of this.
And how do you plan on bringing the public into your discussions and debate?
We've traditionally had public meetings. We've used consultants to come in and help provide education, as you were speaking of, on certain topics. For instance, we do a lot of work, talking about affordable housing. Whenever we have conversations on affordable housing, it gets conflated with Section 8 housing
Yeah.
and,
There's an education process that's vital.
so, getting people to understand that, we're talking about something that's, a percentage of the average cost of a home, something where, our children can afford to live in town too, as opposed to, something that's, sort of more of a welfare kind of program where we don't have, the transportation infrastructure and such to really maintain that sort of population at any real extent. So developing that area doesn't really help us as a community or people in need of that kind of service. However, affordable housing, there's a distinct need. And I have a prime example in my own life. I have a daughter who works in summers. When she could afford a home, it wasn't in Vernon. She commutes from Vernon to Summers because there's no affordable housing, or very limited affordable housing in Summers.
And that also goes for town employees that can't afford to live in Summers.
True.
It's also elderly that sell their houses and there's nowhere to go. There's nothing for them to downsize into.
Absolutely. When we first started having meetings around the 55-plus developments, when that became a popular thing, there were a number of people who were showing up at meetings with just that concept. They were looking to sell what was then their, $300,000-400,000 home and buy a $200,000 home and have some cash to live on. And the 55-plus housing that was developed at about the price point of the homes that people were looking to get out of.
Right, yeah,
Right,
very
that's-
expensive, yeah.
That's what the market will bear. And, in a free market system, you really need to find a way to incentivize something that's other than, getting your best fair use out of the land.
Well, a lot of towns have been doing that. You've seen it in the news, they've been doing. One of my concerns is you're talking about this whole thing of, I know it's an old issue, but the lack of a pharmacy and other stores in this town. I was just wondering if you could sit down with the EDC and start, developing some type of a plan to see if we could bring some businesses.
It's kind of outside of my area of expertise. I mean, I read Facebook just as much as you do, and people want a bakery, people want a pharmacy, me too, by the way.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the small town pharmacy where you walk in and knew who the people were. But, what you're really looking at is, those businesses are kind of gone. There are no small pharmacies, or if there are, they're kind of fading out.
That's right.
We really are looking at getting a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that.
I understand
And what's happened is, businesses don't happen because there's a few people in the community who want them, or a lot of people in the community who want. Businesses happen because people go out and they survey and they look at the economics and they do their research and they decide whether or not, they're going to make a good living here.
Sure.
Whether or not it's going to be profitable.
The business plan.
Right.
Right.
So, planning is really more about, the global issues, economic development. I think if we can do anything to help, if we have that section in the plan, it would be great for us to get together and have some input. But, in a free market economy, you can't say you have to put a bakery there or you have to bring in a drugstore. And, that's sort of the problem, is the people who do those sorts of things don't want to come here. I'm not sure how to make them want to come here.
Well, several of the builders and things, and 2 years ago when I was starting to run the first time, they told me straight up that this town has a reputation for miles around that goes into Massachusetts too, that we're not interested in building a damn thing, in terms of businesses. And that makes it difficult because nobody wants to even come here to even think of building something in town because of what we've done.
Well, I'm not sure what we've done to discourage building. I mean, we have,
I can think of two right off the getting rid of when the pharmacy left, and then when CVS tried to come in, people cheered when that didn't come in. And then like Conval is another thing that, there's a business that was selling things all over the world.
mm-hmm.
And we couldn't figure out how to keep this business in town, and then they moved to Enfield. You know what I'm saying?
But they outgrew their space.
Yeah.
And that was, there's commercial zone land, flooding residentially zoned land. You really can't turn around and say, this lot next to yours that was a residential lot when you bought the house, guess what, we've decided to make it commercial.
I don't, you know, it's like.
No, but they want to go across the street, that's what they were interested in.
Okay.
And that was a big field that just sits there, and the only
Oh,
time
what's the
that field's used two times, maybe a year.
What's the field zoned?
What?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Zoning of the
I
field
don't recall
Outside of
exactly what
days.
happened with that, all the particulars, it's just,
could be agriculture.
yeah, I just, all I know is it's used, you know, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, seriously, for when the Four-Town Fair has sometimes an overflow of crowd.
That land's somebody's property.
Somebody owns it, right.
And
Well, they were going to
you're
acquire
asking,
it.
you're asking me questions that really are the purview of another commission. You know, I don't know off the top of my head what parcels are zoned for what. But in terms of us, you know, being difficult for business to come in, you know, I'd look at the Geisler Plaza. That was a real success. They came in, they built it. We worked with them in meeting their needs and ours, and that was successful.
It's a continuing success as well.
Right.
I mean,
Well, that's the thing, is it's kind of been frozen in place, what's supposed to be basically there.
Well, many plazas are. I mean, I don't see plazas really expanding out, right? I mean, when you built the mall, that was what the mall was. It got a little bit bigger when they put the Target on it. But basically, when you go out and build a strip mall, that's sort of your design, right? They've got a couple of pads out there. They've also had some vacancies there, but those are filling up. There were a number of vacancies in the place where Dunkin' Donuts is. That's filling up. The other thing in terms of like bringing businesses into this town, there's not a lot of undeveloped commercial zoned land in this town,
Correct.
right? I mean, if you're going to build a business, you got to tear down a business. If you're talking about anything of any particular scale. Look, I'd love to see some use for the Conval building, right? I mean,
we all would.
that's a waste to see that sitting there.
Well, and this across the street isn't exactly, you know, where the pharmacy used to be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's not exactly, you know, a model area right there. You know, it's run
Okay,
down.
but we're talking about privately owned property where the business exists, and that thing has been there since before I came to town.
I'm just saying, what I'm talking about is promoting things. That's what I'm saying, and, you know,
Okay.
and this is what I'm talking about, is promoting things. So every time that I have to do something, you know, something simple, you know, I have to always leave town. It's always a 15-minute ride for me to do just about any
Depends
shopping.
on when you want something. I mean, you know, I try and use the hardware store in town when they're open. I think most of us, you know.
I do too, but unfortunately, I just, you know, like I went in there the other day, and they don't do screens anymore. So I had to go up to Avishon Hardware instead.
Right.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, there's not a lot that you can do in this town, shop in this town. It's almost,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, there's a number of businesses that I support and I think are doing fine in town. I'm not saying we've got the most robust business community out there, but I think we've got a decent business community. We've got people who, I think are responsible landlords and stewards of the property they have, for the most part, in terms of the business we have. I'm not really sure why I'm the guy we're asking about businesses in town, because while
I just didn't know, because if that's not under your purview, then tell me it isn't part of the plan of development then.
we do, it's not outside of the plan of conservation and development. We do talk about the needs of development, what we'd like to attract, what we would do to do that. But when we develop the plan of conservation and development, it's a town-wide thing. When we're talking about zoning issues, we work with the zoning commission on that.
Mhm.
When we're talking about business issues, we work with economic development on that.
Right.
We're talking about, land use issues in general, or conservation, or when, like you're talking about climate change and things like that, we would work closely with conservation on that. Right? So when we talk about, planning has two functions, a couple of functions. One is, you know, we're charged with the state with being kind of the stewards of the plan of conservation and development. But with the stewards part, we take input from the community as a whole and try and develop like a long-range generalized plan on where the community wants to go and what kind of steps we can take as a government to get there.
Yeah.
And that goes way beyond one commission's ability, right?
Yeah.
Our other function is, you know, we make recommendations around, you know, land use issues, right? People come to us, with developments, and before we get to zoning, we look at subdivisions, how property is broken up, right? And we use the plan of conservation and development and the zoning regulations and sanitary regulations in terms of our making those kinds of decisions, right? In terms of going out and trying to attract businesses or certain kinds of businesses in the community, it's really not what we do. I'd love to help in any way I can, and as a commission, certainly, look at ways to, and I think we've done things that's made it easier to operate a business in town. Things that used to have to be referred to both boards, I think we recently, I wasn't here at the time, but we adjusted the regulations, so instead of having to, if you're gonna come in and run a business of the same type in an existing place that already had it, you don't have to come to two commissions to get permission to do it anymore.
Or the two commissions can meet at the same time to have the meeting.
Right.
Right.
But we've actually cleaned up some of the regulations where less of that has to happen, and what does have to happen, we can do joint meetings. I mean, we are really, from our perspective, we've done everything that doesn't require a charter revision for us to simplify the process for coming in and opening up a business. Could it be easier? Possibly. We're a government.
I might just add that
we are, and we understand that comes with a lot of responsibilities that occurred because of mistakes that were made in the past. The solution becomes we make a rule, we make a regulation to make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. We've got 200 some odd years of history. I'm only 65. I'm sure I've made enough mistakes in my life that I've got few rules on how I live. You give me 200 years to make mistakes, I'm going to have a lot of rules. Right? Makes sense. So, some of them are still effective, some of them are less effective, right? It's an ongoing process. But, we are trying to be as business friendly as possible while still being respectful of the fact that, when people come to Summers, there's an environment culturally, civically, environmentally that they expect. And we try and make sure that we're not making, ad hoc decisions without looking at those kinds of issues. And that's why we have, the regulations and the steps we have. It's how we keep the community to be the place we want it to be. At least that's been my interpretation for as long as I've been on this commission.
No, thank you. Brad, number one, thank you for your service. 20 years of service. Thank you for stepping forward, for your leadership. There's a lack of people that are willing to step forward, and I think it's important. We have a great planning commission. We're very fortunate, and I appreciate you coming down tonight as well. A couple of things. I agree with what you said. I think a lot of what you said makes sense. Like First Selectman Keeney said, and you said, some of these issues, affordable housing, I think, is a big one. You're right. I think just like you do of like young professionals, a new teacher or someone, some of our firefighters and things. You can't buy a house and home, or a house in Summers.
Absolutely.
Especially when you throw into the mix now the interest rates, and what a monthly payment looks like. And we're really just seeing a shift in society, a shift in the workforce, a shift in where people are choosing to live and stuff. And I think...
The other option, by the way, is you could pay people enough so they could afford to live here. That's on the table, right?
It just translates to higher taxes, that's the problem. Someone on one end paying for the other end. And that's kind of the vicious cycle we're in with inflation now. But that's a big macroeconomic discussion that we probably won't solve in Summers. But you're right. I think you're looking at the right things. Obviously, I know you addressed some of the things like the WPCA. In Somersville, like it's kind of a constraining point. I know it's something we've kind of talked about. It's what do we do there? What do we do with I know there've been some expansions to like water service, there's talk of gas service, there's, all those things I think kind of fit into, what you're talking about. Again, some of it outside your control. You can't make the gas company put a gas main down Route 190, but, what's your interaction, and again, it's education for me, as far as like with town staff, like who's your liaison, like what's that process look like, and I'm kind of thinking like how do we bring the POCD to life? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not just a plan sitting on the shelf that no one looks at, like what's what's that look like? You know, what's the next step? I know you write the plan, how do we,
Well, yeah, the commissioner writes the plan with a lot of staff help. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a volunteer commission.
Of course.
In full fairness, a lot of the actual legwork is done, by Jen.
Yep.
And her boss, and, you know, we get a lot of input from them, and we work very closely with them. I mean,
okay,
We also hire consultants.
right.
yep. So we had, I forget the name of the consultant there, it's, Planometrics, right?
Ron Calder.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, they've been working with us with the plan of conservation and development for probably a good 15 years now.
okay,
They're very familiar with the community and sort of, you know, what are kind of where, they understand the history.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They go back further than any of the town staff who are currently active with it, which is really helpful because, you know, that kind, to have that kind of history and insight in the person who's coming in and kind of doing the guiding process. Because, I mean, we are, you know, we're a lay board.
Yeah,
I mean, we're, there's not a certified planner on the board.
well, and that's my issue, and that's
There's
where
not
I'm
an
going, we
engineer
don't have a
the board.
planner on staff.
We really rely on.
Yeah,
Right, I mean, we haven't had a planner on staff for years.
for years.
Right. I mean, look, the staff that we have, I think, do a very good job up to and probably exceeding their skill level. Right. Having said that, you know, there are advantages to having, you know, a planner or an engineer who has, you know, history with the town.
Yep.
Right, who understands the background of the issues that we're facing, where we're trying to go, how we're trying to accomplish them. You know, I started off with a full-time planner and a consulting engineer. We moved to a full-time engineer and consulting for planning services. Now we sort of consult for everything. Fortunately, right now, you know, our consulting engineer was our engineer.
Yes, yep,
I mean, that's a fortunate thing for us. I'm not sure, you know, when he retires and goes somewhere, we don't have anybody in either of those positions, really, who has a real community connection and an understanding of the intricacies of how the boards work together, how different factions in the community interplay in the development of various plans and achievements that we make. And I think that, you know, like, I mean, I think we have decent staff. I think we have people who know what they're doing, but I think there's an advantage to having someone, you know, who has the professional expertise. I guess, you know, an example, I'll take one from my own life. I'm an EMT. I volunteer with the fire department. There's a lot of times you really want a paramedic, not me.
yeah,
Right? Our town staff is excellent at what they do. Sometimes I think you know, having an engineer or a planner would serve us better than the people we have in some situations. Are they
Yeah.
frequent enough to warrant a full-time position is another question.
Right.
You know, if
Yeah.
we could find, one of the things we talk about is, and you do some of that, you know, municipal sharing. Find a community who
Yeah.
has, or has similar needs to us, similar demographics to us, who needs a part-time planner or a part-time engineer, share the position, bounce people back and forth. That works a lot better with those kinds of positions than trying to, like, you know, share a snowplow. Because you always need that at the same time. Planning, engineering, you can juggle that.
yeah, yeah. No, you're right, I mean, that was kind of where I was going as well, and I think it's a good conversation. I mean, what do we spend annually on Planometrics or on the, I mean, what's the?
Budget.
It's not a lot, right?
We haven't, the last time we paid them,
About 2 years
I mean,
ago.
that's when they did the zoning regs, I think was the last time that we even did anything,
With just
with
a few
Planometrics.
$1,000, I mean, it wasn't anything.
Zoning regs cost us the.
20,000.
25, 30.
I thought it was like 60.
It might have
For the
been.
zoning regs,
Yeah,
or?
the zoning regs were definitely high. I don't remember the last time we did the POCD. It's been,
I remember we had to recommit
been a
money.
while.
Yeah. We just, you know, we're gonna start our budget, I mean, we're really starting it, and I mean, if we need to fund something for next fiscal year, I think, you know,
Yeah, it's an
soon would be the time to have the.
interesting conversation to have, 'cause to that point, I mean, if you know you're beginning the process of working on it in the coming year, I mean, to have a idea of what it's gonna cost, because that does need to go into the budget, 'cause I know I personally never dealt with it.
No idea what we paid them.
Well, I think Director Rowland, you know, would be able to help
Yeah.
with that, you know, if we could connect with him and
Right, but if
maybe,
it's, you know,
yeah.
if it's, we're trying to do the whole thing, but if if we're only doing a portion, you know, that might be a better fiscally.
I think we get
it
a
might
bigger
be- it might be
product when we
cheaper.
work on portions of it.
I agree, I think you get a better product as well, and you spread the,
How many sections are there, do you think?
I think there's 9 sections.
They only probably do more than one a year. Since the plans need to be updated by 2025.
Yes, but once we've done one, we have an updated plan.
yeah.
You get another 10 years after that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That sounds like a scam to me.
But if you
I will
amortize the
make
cost
rules,
out,
I
it makes
just
it
play
that first.
more true.
Yeah, well, essentially you're adopting the rest of the plan as is, right,
Right.
with just
Right.
one amended section.
Right.
But it's not truly an amended plan, it's.
It's not truly a new plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a loophole,
Right,
yeah.
Yes. I might just mention one thing that I'm sure that, maybe Jim Altron, who chairs the Economic Development Commission, has mentioned possibly to you that we're gonna have a small business Saturday in town on the 25th of November. I can't give you all the details because he's still working them out, but, you know, Brian, Wissinger has been helpful in supporting that, and, as has the rec department, and, so we've got about 25 businesses that are interested in participating. I have 160, 170. Of course, as you know, some of them are in people's basements.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's when a lot of good things started.
Right, okay. But doesn't allow, we're talking about bringing the public through these businesses, offering some kind of a discount on items, certain items during the visit, having, transportation around the town available for people that would like to take advantage of that. Having maybe some free items as well, like coffee. We're working on it.
Coffee will bring me out.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
You're serving food, I'll show up.
And we'll have more details in our next selectmen's meeting, but, stay tuned.
Okay.
But no, thanks. I mean, really, our intention here, I mean, we wanted to kind of keep open lines of communications between the boards and just make sure we're not working in silos, you know, things like funding requests, you know, things that are within our purview, we want to make sure we can help support and just that we have the visibility because, you know, I don't know, you probably watch the meetings, a lot of things come in front of us and,
Sure.
you know, we want to make sure we're always looking ahead, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And in these I mean, this was very helpful. I took a bunch of notes and, but please don't be a stranger, you know, if there's things in the future, you know, we have it on every agenda. So if you have something relevant, we can add you, even if it's one item, it doesn't have to be a comprehensive report, you know, if you want to provide a brief update or something, it's all, you know, helpful. And again, if you have ordinance recommendations and things, you know, we just enacted ordinances like around marijuana and some of that. You know, there's things that we can do as a board as well.
If you'd like any of us to come to one of your meetings, or any of your meetings, let us
Let me give
know.
you a shot. When you talk about ordinances, we were having a discussion with our sidewalk committee not too long ago, and one of the members raised the issue that he lives in an area that has sidewalks, and they're not always maintained as they should be, and there was some discussion as to whether it would be useful for the Board of Selectmen to look at, you know, our current sidewalk ordinances, make sure,
Yeah.
you know, the enforcement ability is there, that you know, that the penalty for failing to do it is significant enough to actually get people to do it.
Like clearing it from snow and things like
Right,
that? Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Because, you know, as we expand, one of the problems we have with the sidewalks in this community is most of them don't go anywhere.
Yeah, they're all tied to developments that
Right.
put them in when they build houses.
Right.
Yeah, they're not
So,
connected.
you know, we had, somebody at some point a while ago had a great plan where we can connect things if we just have people build things. So we have piecemeal sidewalks.
Yep.
Right, that works about as well as, you know, putting in little sections of road. So, you know, we're developing a plan that connects them and makes them useful walkable corridors.
Yeah, thanks for your work on that, by the way. We brought it up with Senator Kissel, as we have with others as well, and the safety element, I think, captures people's imaginations and attention. And, we've got about a $3 million figure we're trying to fund. We'd like to do it all at one time rather than phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
That would, I mean, if you've got the money.
Yeah, we're looking for
We
it.
can have the plan. I mean, we were sort of planning in the idea of, you know, how do we do this in a way that doesn't cause anyone to have a heart attack when we tell them how much we need to do it?
Right.
But if you've got some funding sources in there, certainly you can combine those things, but
The good news is the state has money for sidewalks. All you need is a plan.
So we
track
need a system
themselves.
in place to
That's
make
why
sure that they're
hired
working
you
the
and
first one,
others
you know?
for the
So
sidewalk
that's kind of
committee.
your guys' bailiwick.
Yeah, and that's why
We'll make the plan, the implementation has to be that they're functional year-round.
100%, yeah, it's a lot of pieces, like, first time, and that's why we commissioned the commission, you know, was to, yeah.
Yeah, we put the commission together to put together a plan, and great, you guys did a great job, thanks very much. And it was put together in a timely fashion, so we were able to turn it around and then attract, state support for that plan, and that's exactly what we're doing now, and that's one of the issues we brought up with Senator Kissel earlier in the week, and he was very supportive.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for funding, so, and you're right, and even if we don't get it all done, you know, we get some done, 25%, 50%, we're better than where we started, you know, so it's gonna be long-term, 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that. It was, 5 selectmen ago, we put in the brick ones out front. Dick Jackson, I think, started the brick
Yep.
pavers.
We've got some in Somersville, too.
Yeah.
I was accused of, taking advantage of my family having been in town for 150 years, of getting brick sidewalks on the other side of our street.
So you didn't have to shovel?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
so I didn't have to shovel it, right, exactly.
No, but I mean, if you drive down Field Road or 83, you know, before or after school, you've got a fair number of kids making that walk.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They go by Dunkin' Donuts on their way in.
Yeah. Even the Little League field, I mean, there's not really a safe way to, you should be able to walk down to Geisler's, you should be able to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so thanks for the work you put on that, and I think that's been a great committee and with fantastic results, and we are optimistic that we're gonna get some state support for those sidewalks. So that's moving ahead. You mentioned affordable housing, as you know, we're working on the Mill project in Somersville, and we hopefully we're gonna get state support to do the final stage of the environmental analysis that needs to be done.
Great.
Through DECD, we've asked them for $1 million, and then I think it'll make it much more attractive to a company like Wynn who's interested in building on that site. They have an exclusive development agreement right now, and we're hopeful that they'll move forward as soon as we get some positive traction on the environmental side. And that's 80 units. That's, and affordable housing, I think it's 80,
Looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
80 or 85% affordable housing.
And Woodcrest was a great success as well, you know, I mean, that expansion added a lot of affordable senior housing, I mean, you're right, we've had some good successes, but definitely some more to come.
Yeah,
So, great.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks
Well,
for
thank
coming
you
in,
so
appreciate it,
much.
Brad.
Yeah.
See you, take care.
Next item on the agenda is the last item, which is the approval of minutes of our October 19 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
Jim, I was gonna bring it up earlier,
Oh, go ahead.
and I forgot. I'm not gonna be, available next Thursday, 2 weeks from now, on the 16th.
Okay?
I just didn't know if anybody would be willing to move the meeting to like Monday of that week. 'Cause I know
Can't
Brian
do
said he couldn't
Mondays
meet on
ever.
Wednesdays, so.
Yeah, I have Board of Ed, I can never do Mondays.
Mondays are not good for you?
I could do
Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 14th, or I could do the 15th.
Which is Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Tuesday's the 14th, Wednesday's the 15th, right?
Okay, well, I can go for the 14th.
Tuesday the 14th
Yeah, I mean, I'll just not go to the other
Okay.
meeting that I have.
at 6.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on the 14th, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
That's very kind of you.
Yes, no problem.
It's all right. November 14th, 6 o'clock. That's very kind. Thank you.
Very good.
Now, we could get sworn in if, after the election, correct?
Well, I think there's a time lag, actually. I thought it was 2 weeks, but.
So you get sworn in before you take office, though.
Yeah.
So we could potentially do a swearing in at like 5:30 or
Yeah,
something.
okay.
If the clerk was available,
We can make it.
just 'cause we're all gonna be here.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's less than 2 weeks, but.
Well, no, I think you get sworn in before you take office, right? You get elected, and then you have to
Yeah.
take the oath.
Yeah.
The current board, though, was your first.
Follow that happening until the other, well, I guess you do.
It's a little bit unusual this year,
before the board.
because there's no contested seat for the board of selectmen.
Yeah.
We're gonna have the same people here after the election. But the question is when the new board is seated, is the question.
I think we take the oath prior.
Yeah,
Of course you do.
take it prior.
You're supposed to first,
Yeah,
being on the board.
it is prior.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the
Yeah.
14th would make sense, because the election's the 7th, we take the oath on the 14th, we assume the new term on the 25th.
Well, assuming that the state doesn't say you're not supposed to take the oath until 2 weeks after the election.
We can ask Marty.
Let's ask, yeah.
So we'll check on that.
I'll just ask Marty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
We're flexible,
Yeah, no problem.
needless to say.
Pretty good.
Thank you, Tim.
Great. So we need a motion to approve the minutes of October 19, 2023, regular meeting, Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, happy to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 19th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 6:50 now.